beneath the vast, relentless expanse of the Mesopotamian sky where the Euphrates once whispered tales of conquest. An empire thrived and crumbled in the shadow of historic ambition. Sargon of Akkad, a figure both legendary and feared, carved the first great empire from the cradle of civilization. His victories etched in the ancient kingless tablets, like echoes upon stone. Yet, even the mightiest fall. As the heavens sealed their tears, and a Megadrought tightened its grip, desperation clawed at the heart of Akkad. Fields turned to dust. Prayers hovered unanswered. Here, under a sun that offered no mercy, history witnessed the painful struggle between man's dreams and nature's unforgiving will. This is a tale of empire, a chronicle of survival against an unyielding sky. As evening's quiet unfolds beneath the stars, we embark on a journey through the annals of ancient Mesopotamia, where Sargon of Akkad emerged as both a shadowy legend and a testament to human ambition. This enigmatic figure carved out the world's first empire amidst the fertile lands of the Tigris and Euphrates, an empire destined to fade like whispers on the desert wind. Sargon's story begins with an aura of myth, shrouded in the mist of history, and narrative, as compelling as it is mysterious. Found floating in a basket on the Euphrates, he defied his obscure origins with unparalleled ambition. No mere abandoned child of destiny was he, but rather a man of strategic mind and martial prowess. Historical fragments speak of Sargon as a clever cupbearer to King Ur-Zababa of Kish, poised within arm's reach of power and guided by relentless cunning. Through deft manoeuvring and sheer boldness, Sargon ascended, transforming from humble servant to emperor, his ambitions reshaping the very fabric of his world. Under Sargon's visionary command, the landscape of conquest unfurled like a tapestry, each thread bearing the weight of dreams and the blood of nations. His campaigns, immortalized in the king list tablets, read like an epic song of victory. Sargon's reach extended from Sumerian city-states to the shores of the Mediterranean, each conquest a note in a symphony of dominance. His empire, a sprawling entity that fused diverse cultures, was not merely a geopolitical achievement, but a unification of peoples under the Akkadian banner, establishing a legacy that echoed through time. Yet an empire demands more than sheer force. Sargon's rule forged an administrative model, a precursor to future imperial governance. Within this intricate web of power, city governors and local leaders became the weave that held the vast empire together, ensuring order amid potential chaos. The transition from city-state societies to a centralized bureaucracy under Sargon's command marked a significant evolution in governance. But human loyalty, as ever, proved capricious. The burden of maintaining cohesion across such vast territories required continual reinforcement, as fissures of dissent threatened the unity he painstakingly built. At its zenith, the Akkadian Empire was a multicultural mosaic, alive with trade and dialogue. Sargon's embrace of Sumerian traditions alongside Akkadian innovations crafted a unique identity that knitted disparate cultures into a complex whole. This blending fostered both unity and discord, a delicate balance between harmony and fracture. Such diversity underpinned the empire's strength, yet also sowed seeds of conflict, as identity thrived in this vivid theatre of competing customs and technologies. The splendour of Sargon's empire, however, was paralleled by internal strife and external pressures. As it stretched over time, the empire exhibited undertones of instability, threaded through by internal intrigue and the oppressive weight of imperial command. Power, that intoxicating mistress, bore with it an inevitable tarnish. Resentments grew, fermented by political scheming and the incessant demands of rule, as revolts bubbled beneath the veneer of empire. Art and myth flourished in this fiercely ambitious world, where narratives of heroes and deities intertwined, reflecting the empire's triumphs and spiritual ethos. From majestic sculptures to epic tales like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the cultural tapestry woven during Sargon's reign was one where divine favour met earthly endeavour. These cultural legacies, rooted in tradition, yet reaching for immortality, told stories of cosmic order and the divine sanction of kingship. The meeting place of art, myth, and religion lent Sargon's rule both legitimacy and grandeur. Yet time is an unyielding adversary, and Sargon's empire could not escape the inexorable decay that shadows all mortal accomplishments. As his descendants took the helm, internal conflicts and succession disputes gnawed at the empire's cohesion. External threats loomed ever larger on the horizon, as foreign powers keenly eyed the empire's weakened underbelly. The mighty construct of Sargon's dreams, though dazzling in its prime, gradually crumbled like ancient stone, reduced to sands whispering of past glories. Even as we retreat from this narrative, leaving behind the reverberating echoes of Sargon's world, we carry forward the lessons his empire imparts. His story, woven into the great tapestry of human endeavour, casts a light on the labyrinthine nature of power and the eternal dance of ambition, both as beacon and burden. In the cooling glow of remembered glory, Sargon's tale beckons us to reflection, a bridge between our own age and that of a world long vanished. In this melding of time, his shadow lingers, ever a part of the tapestry of history. The Akkadian Empire thrived under the vast skies of Mesopotamia, a land once lush and bountiful. With rain that fell reliably over generations, the Akkadians found prosperity. But as Sargon's empire faced its twilight, the rain ceased. Silence enveloped the once gracious heavens, transforming them into an endless blue void. Evidence etched in tree rings and layers of sediment reveals an unforgiving climate gripping the region, with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers reduced to narrow, sediment-choked waterways. They were the very lifelines of society, now feeble whispers of their former selves. The chronicles of Lagash and Ur chronicle this harsh transformation as the welcoming grey skies turned relentlessly azure. These clay documents, etched in cuneiform, voice the grief of a people watching their world unravel. Farmers, accustomed to mastering their environment through ingenious irrigation, now stood powerless in the face of an unpredictable shift in climate. Verdant fields of barley withered, cracked and turned to lifeless earth, a harbinger of a harsher era upon them. In the desperate echoes of the Akkadian past, their laments stand as poetic testaments of a civilization in turmoil. In Ur, priests imbued their songs with sorrow, beseeching distant deities to return favour to a land they felt abandoned. These compositions, etched in baked clay, are relics echoing an era when rain was more than a natural occurrence. It was a divine gift. The absence of such a gift cast long shadows, imbuing the people's very songs with desperation and frustration, perceiving their plight as an echo of divine disfavour. The laments transcended mere religious offerings. They became public outcries aiming to unite the community in shared suffering, while attempting to reconnect with the divine. Temples, once bustling with celebrations, had shifted to centres of solemnity, where the vibrant echoes of joy were replaced by the heavy air of ceremonial mourning. For the Akkadians, the gods transitioned from intimate presences to distant figures, bringing comfort that seemed painfully elusive. Social unrest simmered under the relentless sun as communities accustomed to abundance now grappled with scarcity. Tensions brewed between cities and rural settlements that had once thrived on cooperation. Sargon's dream of unified Mesopotamian allegiance fractured as survival instincts superseded loyalty. Famine turned neighbours into fierce competitors, and allegiances shifted, weakening the empire's feared military might. Soldiers deserted to support their desperate families, or sided with local leaders promising immediate sustenance and security. As survival became paramount, the empire's cohesion crumbled. The shrinking resources turned cries for water into cries for war, isolating once interconnected city-states and shattering trade routes. Migration became an almost instinctual response to looming starvation. The Akkadian exodus from ancestral lands charted paths across inhospitable terrains, reshaping the socio-political fabric beyond the empire's borders. Families carried remnants of their existence, seeking not just greener pastures, but surviving the relentless advance of despair. These migrations prompted clashes as new arrivals upset the delicate balance of survival in neighbouring regions. The once rigid societal structures of Akkad gave way to the unpredictable chaos of migratory existence. The collapse of the empire came not with a great battle, but with the slow, ruthless passage of time and nature. The lingering sorrow of this upheaval is evident in artefact remnants, showing their desperate attempts to preserve a semblance of normalcy amidst the crisis. Priests and temples were not immune to the era's challenges. Once powerful intermediaries between mortals and gods, the clergy found their authority eroding. Temples became shrouded in despondency, mere shadows of their once vibrant selves. The echoes of smoking altars whispered struggles for relevance, as the divine silence provoked skepticism among once faithful followers. Attempts to regain power through decrees and increased rituals met in different skies, challenging the spiritual institutions at their core. Archaeological findings tell a silent tale of the devastation, where once bustling cities now lie entombed beneath silent sands. Remnants of homes bearing witness to the futility of last efforts to withstand the tide of environmental decay offer a poignant link to a human story marked by resilience and hubris. The ruins are not just vestiges of a bygone era, but cautionary tales of human persistence against the relentless march of time. Despite the engulfing chaos, the Akkadian spirit persisted through cultural tradition. Art, ceremonies and songs, even in adapted forms, provided a bulwark against the encroaching despair. Rituals, from birth to death, remained steadfast pillars amid ruins. They reaffirmed cultural identity and continuity in ways often overlooked in broader historical narratives. Through these acts, Akkadians ensured that even if physical structures failed, their essence persisted. The enduring tale of Akkad speaks to our modern sensibilities about nature's unpredictable dominion. It parallels contemporary challenges of ecological changes and resource scarcity, echoing throughout millennia. As societies stretch the bonds of nature, the Akkadian experience stands as a sobering testament to the perils faced by civilizations daring to rest their fate on expected natural cycles, urging us to heed the lessons of environment and resilience. Through this exploration of Akkad's story beneath the relentless sky, we glimpse not just an ancient past, but a timeless truth. History weaves together the aspirations, struggles, and the shared connection of humanity's dance with an unpredictable world. It's a legacy of the indomitable spirit, forever inscribed in the sands, urging us to learn and adapt with humility, lest we repeat the echoes of a forgotten era. In the shadow of an unyielding sun, the Akkadian Empire witnessed its fertile lands crumble beneath a reign of relentless drought. Agriculture, the backbone of civilization, succumbed first, as the once abundant fields transformed into barren stretches of dust. For centuries the skies withheld rain, turning grain fields into wastelands. Sediment cores from ancient Mesopotamian soils narrate a story of despair. Layers tell of years where fertile topsoil eroded under the wind's unforgiving embrace. With every seed sown, farmers wagered against nature's harsh temperament, struggling to wrest sustenance from a reluctant earth. Crops failed in succession, and stories of doom passed through generations, a haunting legacy of their struggle. Beside this agricultural collapse, Akkad's intricate canal systems, once the empire's pride, lay bare, their dry beds echoing stories of past glories. Farmers, who once rejoiced at rising water levels, now gazed upon ghostly reminders of their fading success. Desperation drove them to primitive means, hand-watering with clay pots and painstakingly diverting scarce water supplies. Harvest festivals turned into communal laments as families faced starvation. Resilient yet worn, these agrarians embodied a civilization pushed to its limits, struggling to draw life from parched fields. A cruel irony for those who once wielded life-giving scythes, now struck by unyielding death. In the cities, the tight grip of drought took form in the dismal task of recording the slow depletion of resources. Akkadian scribes etched a story of a society teetering on the brink onto clay tablets. Rationing became a harsh reality. Each grain counted meticulously in a delicate dance of survival and frail order. Urban centres, once bustling with life, stood vulnerable under nature's indifferent watch. Food lines wove through the streets, a testament to growing desperation. Discontent simmered, citizens bartering and bidding for sustenance in a competition fraught with tension. Once benevolent officials faced the ire of the hungry, and the air crackled with unrest as city life danced dangerously close to chaos. Communities faced an agonizing choice: cling to familiar lands or embark on a perilous search for survival. An exodus began, with the dispossessed leaving cities they had long called home. Each step driven by desperation, their paths were marked by the weight of scarce supplies and fragile hopes. Along these ancient routes, archaeologists find traces, whispers of those who ventured into the unknown, driven by hope and necessity. The journey offered no guarantees. Rival tribes, wild terrains, and a merciless climate shadowed every step. Chroniclers of the time captured poignant farewells to forsaken lands, severed ties rendered inevitable by nature's decree. Despite this despair, human ingenuity emerged, embodied in the notorious rise of famine profiteers. Amid growing desolation, a few unscrupulous individuals hoarded resources, selling them at exorbitant prices. Whispers of storerooms filled to the brim travelled swiftly through cities and villages, as opportunists thrived where desperation met greed. Profiteers exploited scarcity, drawing immoral gains from their starving neighbours. Their transactions highlighted the divide between those surviving by opportunism and those succumbing to the cruel drought. The drought extinguished entire professions, crafts and trades tied to agriculture, now obsolete. Potters' wheels, looms and forges lay abandoned, their artisans adrift in a hostile landscape. The silence in workshops mourned the fading of livelihoods lost to time and nature's capriciousness. displaced craftsmen roamed city streets in search of work, their once skilled hands finding no purchase on familiar tools. As the drought persisted, water, once a plentiful resource, became the empire's most precious commodity. Politics surrounding its allocation grew tense, communities collapsing under the strain of dwindling supplies. Water control amplified social divides, with the elite claiming the lion's share. Public water points became bitter battlegrounds. In this unfolding tragedy, the cradle of civilization, known for its ingenious irrigation, unravelled amid its dependence on now absent water, a paradox of abundance lost to scarcity's scars. Yet determined traders managed treacherous routes, offering faint lifelines to famished Akkadians. Through their perilous journeys, they maintained cross-cultural exchanges crucial for survival. Merchants acting as unintentional cultural diplomats carried goods and stories across isolated communities despite soaring risks. Though their efforts would not reverse decline, they symbolise an enduring connection amidst chaos. Amid decay, Akkadians search for self-reflection, poets and scribes chronicling struggles in fervent creations. Their literature captured a civilization facing its reflection in a desolate mirror. Art and eloquent inscriptions painted a foreboding elegy against deific benevolence, fostering unity through shared introspection. In this dust-choked existence, a grim new normal emerged. Akkadians adapted to the wilderness, redefining survival beyond past achievements. Improvised techniques, theological reinterpretations, and societal restructuring became necessary. Accounts of communal effort and endurance offer insight into resilience and cultural reinvention. Akkadians forged ahead, defying the harsh tides that history would eventually sweep over. In the sands of Akkadian demise lie potent lessons, echoes of calamity's impact on civilization. These tales of ruin and resilience warn future societies, reminding them of vulnerabilities amid droughts. Within Akkadia's fate, an urgent call for sustainability resounds, urging harmonious coexistence with an ever-changing world. In the intricate tapestry of ancient Akkadian life, religion was the very architecture of existence. The Akkadians saw their deities not as distant abstractions, but as powerful forces interwoven with the world around them. Chief among these gods was Adad, the storm god, whose favour was thought to bring life-giving rains. Yet as the land began to parch and cracks spread across the once fertile plains, the silence of Adad loomed over the empire like a menacing cloud. His absence cast a shadow of doubt, filling the air with desperation and the need for divine reassurance. Amid this theological crisis, the Akkadian leaders, both rulers and priests, were driven to fervently seek answers in the celestial signs, reinterpreting ancient omens with a sense of urgency. Cuneiform tablets from flourishing urban centres like Nippur depict a surge in rituals meant to coax their fickle deities back to benevolence. The temple walls echoed with the murmurs of prayers and chants, each whispered plea a testament to a society on its knees. Clay effigies and ceremonial rites were not mere religious formalities, but lifelines in a desperate bid for salvation. The Akkadians, knee-deep in crisis, clung tighter to their faith even as the harsh earth showed no mercy. The shadows of their grand stone temples bore witness to sacrifices whose symbolism ran deep. Animal, and potentially human, according to some contentious interpretations, were offered to catch the gods' elusive attention. The air was often filled with the bleats and cries of animals like goats, sheep and oxen, whose blood was thought to symbolise purification and renewal. Priesthoods donned in ornate ceremonial garb, presided over these sombre events with a gravitas that matched the dire circumstances. While animal sacrifices were common, human offerings remain a shadowy speculation, one that hints at acts of ultimate devotion or extreme desperation, buried amidst the tension of scarce archaeological evidence. Serpents and fire were potent symbols within Akkadian rituals, representing the underlying forces of transformation. Serpents, seen as mystical creatures between realms, adorned reliefs and temple sculptures, symbolising both chaos and fertility. They encapsulated the dual potential for destruction and renewal during the dire drought. Fire, with its purifying properties, would blaze defiantly in temple courtyards, casting sharp-edged shadows against the stone walls and imaging gods in the rising smoke. To stand by these ritual fires was to experience a moment where the physical world faded into the divine presence. The priests of Akkad held immense power and responsibility, their lives devoted to weaving ritual and reality into a cohesive tapestry of faith. Serving as gatekeepers to wisdom and divine will, they interpreted celestial phenomena and conducted the rites that supposedly maintained cosmic equilibrium. The Akkadian community relied on these ritual specialists, not just for spiritual guidance, but for practical advice as well, making priests central figures in the fabric of daily life. Protectors of religious texts, they carried forward sacred hymns and prayers, their inscriptions becoming beacons from the past for today's historians. In the temple's echoing hallways, chants and incantations gained life as crucial elements of rituals, each word carefully passed down through the ages. These vocalizations carried a power to influence divine forces, the harmonized voices of priests and worshippers enveloping the temple atmosphere. Their hopeful melody sought to realign the cosmos, their fervent repetition acting as a spiritual anchor amid uncertainty. Haunting lamentations would break through, aimed at the storm god Adad and expressing the anguish of a forsaken people. Even in times of great scarcity, the Akkadians marked time with fervent religious festivals, celebrating an agrarian calendar disrupted but not forgotten. These moments of collective celebration forged acts of defiance against nature's indifference, turning scarcity into resilience. Each gathering was a thread in the unbroken continuity of history, intermingling rituals with communal feasts, despite the drought's shadow forcing modest offerings. Whether through vibrant music, dances, or shared meals, these festivals rekindled hope and social bonds. They embodied the spiritual economy of Akkad, faith and fellowship, transcending all material constraints. The Akkadian pantheon, an intricate coordination of divine beings, served as anchors of order in a torn world. Gods varied in their domains, strength, and influence, forming a celestial hierarchy that mirrored the kingdom's terrestrial struggles. In times of drought, storm god Adad rose to prominence, his veneration aligning with earth and fertility deities in strategic ritual alterations. Through this flexible devotion, Akkadians adapted their theology to meet reality's demands, transforming their gods into a formidable spiritual coalition. An intensified search for celestial guidance gave rise to omens and apparitions. Eclipses, bird flights, and sacrificed entrails became harbingers of divine decrees. Skilled diviners, steeped in tradition and intuition, interpreted these signs, their insights shaping the community's response to fate's caprices. Temples became living thresholds, merging divine and human realms in sacred intimacy. They stood as towering monuments to devotion and artistry, their courtyards filled with hopes that reached out beyond the physical into the ethereal. Thus, the legacy of Akkadian ritual endures, their etched stories in clay and stone echoing humanity's timeless quest for divine interaction. Today, the imagery and rituals carved into ancient tablets breathe life into the forgotten whispers of a civilization's past. Through their persistence, these sacred rites etched indelibly onto the fabric of cultural memory reflect humankind's shared yearning for meaning amidst chaos, a narrative uniting past and present beneath the same restless sky. In the bustling streets of ancient Akkad, the potter's wheel once spun as a familiar melody, an enduring cadence that resonated throughout the community. Pottery was more than an art. It was a lifeline woven into the fabric of everyday existence, with ornate and utilitarian clay vessels safeguarding the necessities of life, grain, water, sacred offerings. This craft, cherished and perfected through generations, provided sustenance and identity. Yet, as the Megadrought spread its arid fingers, seeking moisture from every corner, the familiar demand for these once vital containers dwindled in tandem with their contents. Silent granaries, stripped of abundance, watched their clay guardians gather dust. Powdered by time and dwindling patronage, the potters found their labour and legacy slipping into obsolescence, their stories fading into whispers of bygone prosperity. This drought-induced void erased the potter's song, leaving in its wake an eerie stillness, an unanticipated fissure in a once vibrant tapestry of professions. Clay, a once plentiful muse, succumbed to the merciless sun, leaving craftspeople and their creations brittle and frail. Fragments of half-formed pots and stilled wheels lay frozen in time beneath the soil of former Akkadian metropolises, silent testimonies to a profession's untimely demise. These artefacts recount tales of artisans who moulded life from clay, now merely ghosts forced to navigate survival in a changed and unforgiving world. Simultaneously, in simpler homes across Akkad, the gentle symphony of wooden weaving frames marked the rhythm of life, echoing in harmony with the community's collective heartbeat. This was a time when weaving was a sacred ceremony, performed by skilled hands that imbued cloth with narratives richer than any written word. Women wove the past into the present, binding families and tradition with each pass of the shuttle. These textiles, filled with colour and warmth, were more than garments. They were identity woven with ancient threads. But as the drought took hold, parching flax fields and dulling dyes, the tapestries of life unravelled, bereft of their essential fabric. Without raw materials, weaving frames stood skeletally, twisted and quiet, mid-pattern, telling a tale of abrupt cessation. The familial hearth, once the epicentre of creation, became an arena of silence, as a world once vibrant with material and metaphysical warp and weft faced alterations that demanded adaptation. This loss resonated personally and socially, casting light on society's fragility when confronted with nature's unyielding grip, leaving behind woven memories clinging to threads of a forgotten past. Alongside these silent frames lay the mighty forges of Akkad now stilled, their hearths once fed by the ceaseless vigour of industry. Metalworkers, artisans revered for transforming ores into tools and symbols of power, encountered their own crisis. During prosperous times, these craftsmen were the vital machinery of progress. As the drought desiccated resources, so too did it sever the supply of metals and fuels, snuffing out the furnace's fiery breath. The absence of sound from forges echoed through the archaeological record, revealing nothing but void where metal once met flame, and creativity danced upon stone anvils. Abandoned moulds and rusting tools lie scattered, remnants of dreams unaccomplished. Metalworkers, facing diminished demand, were compelled to forsake their craft and forge new paths in a world that now turned its back upon tradition and necessity. Their silent instruments echo a broader tale of survival, bleeding vitality into the soil like untapped veins, whispering the fragility of human ambition beneath nature's blunt decree. As these professions struggled, scribes faced their own battle. They were the heart of Akkadian knowledge, custodians of communication across an empire. Their hand-etched history into tablets that bore witness to treaties, transactions, divine edicts. Yet the shifting economic landscape saw fewer grains exchanged, fewer decrees etched into stone, as temples and offerings crouched under nature's insistence. The once steady hands of scribes traced a new narrative, an elegy of scarcity and shifting priorities. Fewer texts crossed the epoch, and the beauty of their script faltered under the drought's relentless pressure. Scribes displaced from their pedestals of reverence navigated an uncertain future, their chronicles veiled in irony. They endure not in the texts they crafted, but in the gaps they left, a symbol of their delicate impermanence on civilization's sprawling canvas. The merchants too found their world transformed. Once vibrant and prosperous, their caravans crisscross vast trade networks, bringing goods from distant lands into bustling marketplaces. But drought's suffocating advance crippled commerce, turning vibrant centres of exchange into vestiges of their former glory. As resources dried up, so too did wealth, and merchants saw their capital evaporate, forcing them to either retreat to subsistence or seek new horizons. Glimpsed in shadowed ruins, marketplace remnants bear broken vessels and lonely stalls, mute witnesses to a class's exodus as they abandoned their avaricious dance of trade and faced bleak adaptation. The empty plazas speak of economic erosion, an empire's heartbeat stilled by nature's quiet intrusion on civilization's bustling sphere. Even the healers, practitioners of Akkadian medicine, endured the drought's scourge. They had once coaxed remedies from plants, their wisdom a balm for ailments. Yet, as drought desiccated their apothecaries, herbalists scoured arid earth for nourishment nature withheld. With practiced methods failing, they gambled on untested remedies, desperate measures for desperate times. Their pharmacies, frozen archaeological whispers, hold medicines awaiting prescriptions never to be penned. The memory of these healers lingers on clay tablets, a testament to nature's unilateral governance over health, a dictate that changed history's course. In their absence, their forgotten cures remind us of our enduring dependency on the whimsical elementals, the serpentine wheel of time that demands humility even as it rolls forth. In the shadow of the Akkadian Empire, disease crept through the populace, magnified by the relentless drought that parched the land and shattered sanitation. The once mighty rivers stood as stagnant reminders of past abundance, now reduced to brackish pools teeming with decay. This bad water, as described on ancient tablets, was a daily peril. Communities grasping for survival knew their sips from earthen bowls might also be poison. Primitive medicine, recorded on cuneiform tablets, revealed the desperation of healers armed with nothing more than herbs and faith. Their arsenal, inspired by a mix of tradition and necessity, included bitter plants, powdered roots and ashes, all believed to realign a disturbed balance of humours rather than confront bacterial reality. With each fever, the Akkadians felt the presence of an unseen enemy, their faith intertwined with their cures, seeking divine intervention when human efforts faltered. Beneath palace walls and sacred ziggurats, healers ground leaves to dust and whispered prayers over their mortars, creating potions like the blood of Shamash, an ochre and honey balm meant to cleanse both body and spirit. These practitioners, with limited understanding but boundless dedication, battled the unyielding forces of nature and fate. Ancient texts testify to their struggle against skin ailments and rampant infections, drawing a vivid picture of life amid arid dust where grime festered unchecked. In the midst of disease, the Akkadians turned their hopes to the celestial realm, believing divine favour could sway their fate. Temples filled with chants as suppliants sought the gods' compassion, casting offerings in desperate devotion. Each ritual was both an act of faith and a pragmatic attempt at survival. Myths echoing within temple walls painted a reality fraught with divine wrath. Tales of capricious gods enacting cosmic vengeance embodied the people's fear of abandonment. Urban centres once bustling with activity succumbed to filth as water scarcity decimated sanitation practices. Streets reeked of neglect, a maze of refuse where waste was washed away not by rain, but by relentless winds. Disease flourished amidst the squalor, a grim harbinger for both rich and poor. Aristocrats, with their once grand baths rendered useless, found luxury a hollow shield against the pervasive decay. Bureaucratic records mention efforts to restore the city's dignity, but these were whispers against a thunderous decline, constrained by resources as thin as the riverbanks. Within these cities, healers mark their presence on clay tablets, embodying both empathy and restrained knowledge. These inscriptions, scarred by time yet resolute, are a testament to a people's fight against nature's cruelty, documenting everything from herbal recipes to spiritual admonishments. Their efforts focus not just on physical healing, but on aligning the body and spirit with the cosmos, presenting a fragile thread of hope in a world under siege. Epidemics moved like unrelenting plagues, indifferent to boundaries set by rank or status. The dry winds breathed whispers of pestilence across the lands, and fear gripped even the bravest hearts. Communities rallied, their cohesion a necessary response to the sweeping doom. Through hushed prayers, protective talismans, and communal rituals, a shared understanding of vulnerability emerged. This was as much a social awakening as it was a medical emergency, sparking reflections on survival woven into the fabric of empire. As conditions worsened, personal and communal hygiene plummeted, and the iconic cleansing rituals, once vital to Akkadian life, fell by the wayside. Bathing, once a practice of both spiritual and physical purification, became an elusive commodity. Dust settled thick upon the skin, mingling with sweat in the crowded marketplaces, becoming a part of the people as much as the air they breathed. Survival meant adapting. The people turned to the cleansing powers of ash and smoke, modifying rituals to fit their parched world. Cleanliness was redefined, more about endurance than appearance, a reflection of resilience rather than surrender. Every cough and fever was viewed as a divine message, a conversation between mortals and their gods. Chroniclers captured this belief, portraying illness in rich prose that combined celestial rhythms with earthly afflictions. This juxtaposition created an understanding of health as navigation through cosmic forces. Yet, this spiritual perspective nurtured a profound bond between the divine and the afflicted, with every prayer a bridge to celestial understanding. Despite disease's grip, Akkadians found strength in community. Urban mayhem bred cooperation, and rural areas often sustained life through communal effort, neighbours banding together to reap sparse harvests. In cities, informal networks battled adversity, revealing an ancient truth: survival needed collaboration. These resilient strategies inked a vibrant narrative, not of hopeless isolation, but of familial commitment amidst siege. From these ashes of hardship emerged lessons, a testament to the indomitable spirit that defied despair. The Akkadian saga, preserved in ancient soil and petrified tablets, whispers of human capacity to endure. These stories, though earthbound, suggest an extraordinary resilience against a backdrop of divine consultation and environmental calamity. This narrative, echoing through centuries, reminds us that history's strange familiarity offers insights not just into the past, but also the path forward. In the shadow of the mighty ziggurats of Akkad, a world steeped in the divine drama of gods and man unfolded. The Akkadians navigated a universe where gods like Anu, Enlil, and Ea held sway, each revered yet feared, their caprices shaping the destinies of all. The air was alive with tales of Enlil, the storm god, whose storms could feed the earth or strip it bare. His counterpart, Ea, god of wisdom and water, embodied benevolent abundance, until his favour waned, leaving the soil dry and the people desperate. Through fervent rituals and whispered prayers, the Akkadians sought to decipher and appease a pantheon believed to wield the strings of fate. Yet, as the Megadrought tightened its grim grasp, faith wavered under the perceived wrath of Enlil. Known for his volatile temperament, the storm god's fury was unmatched, and the drought seemed but a testament to his silent rage, a ghastly echo of forgotten sacrifices or misunderstood omens. In the consciousness of the Akkadian people, every tempest, every whisper of wind was a dialogue fraught with divine displeasure, demanding restitution through elaborate offerings. The towering ziggurats bore witness to countless rituals and sacrifices, attempts to mollify Enlil's wrath through the tribute of livestock, precious goods, and heartfelt incantations. Within the bustling streets of cities like Ur and Akkad, whispers spread, weaving tales of Ea's judgment, in which the once life-giving rivers and irrigation channels stood parched under merciless skies. His silence, perceived as a judicial verdict, underscored the might of the celestial overseers who judge the actions of mortals. When the rivers dried and the once fertile plains crumbled to dust, the people lamented Ea's absence in mournful hymns, sensing more than just environmental misfortune. A revered benefactor had withdrawn, casting shadows over their existence. As the grip of drought persisted, the Akkadians turned their hearts and hands to desperate rituals of atonement within their ziggurats. These sacred spaces brimmed with solemn ceremonies. Priests and priestesses engaged in rites calling for gifts, livestock, and deep devotion in hopes of attracting divine favour. The Akkadians believed these acts were not mere tradition, but essential intercessions with the gods, holding the hope of rain and renewal. Despite lavish offerings and communal sacrifices meant to reflect sincerity and piety, the heavens remained indifferent. The persistence of drought served as a sobering challenge to their belief system, testing their resolve amid divine silence. Despite this precarious existence, the people remained attentive to omens, a significant part of their spiritual practice. The movements of stars, the flight of birds, and unexplained celestial events were seen as messages from the divine realm, deciphered by skilled diviners whose interpretations guided religious and civic life. The continued drought heightened their need for signs, amplifying the search for understanding within the community. Discordance in these divine communications bred both fear and fervour, leaving citizens to ponder what cosmic transgressions might have been committed. In this spiritual economy, sacrifices were considered indispensable. They lay at the heart of their belief system, even as their society strained under the weight of divine demands. With dwindling resources, the sacrificial offerings intensified, pushing both the wealthy and the impoverished to participate in this sacred exchange. Records hint at even the occasional, grim spectre of human sacrifice during desperate times, illustrating the lengths the Akkadians might go to in seeking restoration of divine favour. This costly relationship with their gods was viewed as a just and necessary appeal for the survival of their communities. Yet amid this tapestry of faith and futility, the unwavering devotion of the Akkadians to their pantheon endured. Despite barren fields and unanswered prayers, their hymns echoed with a dual essence of fervent supplication and the acceptance of divine omnipotence. The profound connection with their gods forged a cultural backbone of resilience and unity, sheltering them in the struggle against an indifferent natural world. This faith, while tested, became a glue that bonded society in a shared quest for meaning and continuity. In the backdrop of rising temple ziggurats, these grand structures stood as tangible emblems of enduring faith, piercing the skyline with spiritual defiance. As centres of divine and communal life, they held not only rituals, but also the weight of history and collective memory. Even amidst ecological collapse, they remained symbols of hope and the tenacity of Akkadian spirituality. Communities assembled under their towering facades, seeking guidance as the tangible and immaterial worlds blurred into a single narrative of continuity. Yet irony glimmered in the prolonged silence, quietly nurturing the seeds of secular thought among some Akkadians. Through unanswered cries for divine intervention, the boundaries of faith and reason began to blur. This subtle shift didn't erase the theocratic order, but incubated ideas that would ripple into future philosophical landscapes. The prolonged drought, initially a challenge to divine conviction, birthed the earliest inkling of self-reliance and rational assessment of the world. Ultimately, the fall of Akkad transformed into a chronicle of entwined divine vengeance and human vulnerability. As time's sands buried their cities, the legacy of their spiritual odyssey endures, a testament to the intricate dance with deities that defined their world. Through the ebb and flow of their tumultuous history, the Akkadian experience left an indelible mark on the cultural and spiritual fabric of civilizations that followed, echoing across the ages as a reminder of humanity's eternal endeavour to harness the divine. In ancient Akkadia, the artefacts unearthed from silent, dusty graves speak volumes about the inequality that permeated society. Ornate jewellery, finely crafted weapons and luxurious imports like lapis lazuli accompanied the aristocracy in their final rest, testaments to their wealth and the security it afforded. In stark contrast, the graves of the lower classes held sparse belongings, simple pottery and modest tools, a haunting reminder of a society deeply divided by wealth and necessity. This disparity in burial goods not only reflects economic inequality, but also reveals the societal values and fears at play. Even as famine loomed, the elite clung to their symbols of power, while the impoverished left little to commemorate their existence. The clay tablets of Akkad reveal a legal system deeply skewed in favour of the wealthy. Glyphs etched into these tablets document laws that perpetuated a hierarchy of privilege, where justice tilted to favour the powerful. A noble could face a minor penalty for a crime that would cost a commoner dearly. exposing an institutionalized divide that fueled underlying social discord. Beyond punishment, legal tablets bound the lower classes to servitude, painting a picture of vast lands owned by noble families while the poor laboured for paltry returns. This system, exploitative and rigid, was designed to uphold an inequitable status quo, even as the empire crumbled under environmental duress, leaving a record of injustice that deepened societal fractures. During Akkad's epic drought, food scarcity turned meals into luxury commodities, further highlighting the divide between the classes. The affluent flaunted their might through lavish banquets, consuming imported delicacies and wines, a stark contrast to the meagre, gritty fare of the common folk. While the elite dined on excess, the poor diluted their meagre flour to stretch meals as famine tightened its grip. This disparity had concrete repercussions. Resources that could have eased a widespread hunger were instead devoured by excess, propelling prices skyward and deepening the already grave shortages. In this grim setting, labour reflected the desperation steering Akkad's decline. Amid dying fields, the poor bore the brunt of intensified demands, expending every last breath in a futile attempt to salvage whatever could be harvested under the harsh Akkadian sun. Beyond agriculture, men and women were funneled into onerous public works projects, cruelly ironic endeavours in the midst of a ceaseless drought. Accounts of collapsed workers and exhaustion abound, testaments to misaligned priorities where the desperate toil of the poor mirrored the indifference of a ruling class fighting to safeguard its dominance. As the Megadrought's choke tightened, it unravelled the very fabric of familial bonds. Faced with dwindling resources, families fractured under strain. Sons left parents in hopes of finding distant relief, while siblings parted not from anger but necessity. This wave of migration fragmented kinship networks and left the elderly vulnerable, their care forgotten as survival took precedence. Such shifts tore at societal cohesion, replacing bonds meant for mutual aid with emotional voids, complicating any efforts towards communal recovery. Temples in Akkadia, bastions of the divine and social sanctuaries alike, mirrored the prevailing social rift. Ritual access often depended upon one's wealth, leaving the poor marginalised by economic hardship, even in spiritual spaces. The elite secured favour through grand offerings, while the impoverished were left whispering prayers into the wind. The divide in temple participation laid bare a dichotomy. The places that should have symbolised unity became arenas reinforcing social stratification, denying the destitute solace both from society and from their gods. Beneath these material struggles lay a psychological toll that gnawed at the very spirit of the Akkadian populace. Despair, carved into the walls as graffiti and etched onto stones, bore witness to a desperate attempt at self-affirmation against an uncertain future. Rather than uprising, most succumbed to a sense of learned helplessness, taught over generations of servitude, binding them to the inevitability of their suffering. Periodically, whispers of rebellion surfaced, driven by those with little left to lose. These uprisings, small in scale and often snuffed out through calculated responses by the rulers, left scars on the social consciousness. Their swift suppression by force or political manoeuvre underscored the regime's determination to maintain control, while the occasional spark of rebellion illuminated a deep-seated yearning for justice and acknowledgement. The legacy of Akkadia's stratified suffering extends beyond the ruins and artefacts, infiltrating cultural memory with tales of perseverance amid adversity. It foretells the struggle to come, shaped by narratives of survival ingrained into the collective consciousness by the inequities and hardships faced. Yet this inheritance also carries a lament for lost opportunities and a lineage marked by silence. Navigating these echoes, future generations are left piecing together a fragmented history, the tales of triumph intertwined with grief. Ultimately, the echoes of Akkad warn of history's cyclical nature, reflecting how societies react to disaster, wealth disparity, and systemic injustice. The Empire's fall holds lessons for today's world, challenging us to confront environmental and societal inequities collectively. Akkad's tale is not merely a cautionary chronicle, but also an enduring testament to humanity's resilience, offering insights into our own capacity for reinvention amidst adversity, urging us to draw from the past as we face the challenges of tomorrow. The relentless sun baked the cracked earth of Akkad, reminding its people daily of the Empire's fragility. They watched the once vibrant fields wither away, swallowed by an encroaching void of desolation. Yet, amid this despair, necessity sparked a burst of creativity that would reshape their world. Facing the harsh realities of their environment, the Akkadians embarked on a journey of innovation. The land, ravaged by nature's unforgiving wrath, became a crucible for new ideas as the people sought to sustain their dwindling resources. In a cruel twist of fate, disaster dovetailed with opportunity, forging a pivotal chapter in Akkadian history where survival depended on altering agriculture, water management, and daily life itself. Water, the lifeblood of their agrarian society, became the focus of these innovations as the Euphrates waned. Ingenious minds within the community devised methods to harness its dwindling flow. Simple dirt channels evolved into networks of irrigation ditches, sprawling like lifelines across parched landscapes. Each droplet of water grew more precious than gold, driving an incessant push for effective management systems. These systems, beyond merely watering crops, upheld urban survival amidst drought's stranglehold, showcasing the irony where catastrophe bred creativity out of necessity. On the banks of the Euphrates, determined individuals took up rudimentary tools, carving survival into the earth with sheer tenacity. The sprawling vision of irrigation arose from deep knowledge of the river's temperaments, where seasoned precision guided new channels in harmony with its moods. This agricultural lifeline, snaking across barren deserts, offered hope to wilting crops. The seeming simplicity of this art belied its profound impact, breathing life into weary fields. Irrigation became a communal effort, a ritual attuned to the river's pulse, forging unspoken unity among the people. Each iteration of technique refined further, crafting an intricate web woven intimately into Akkadian soil, embodying innovation where desperation once stood. Against the background of Sargon's fading dynasty, a new intellectual beacon emerged: Babylonian numerals. As subsistence living took precedence, precision in trade and records became paramount. The scribal schools of Akkad embraced this new numerical system, blending decimal and sexagesimal paradigms, increasing efficiency through complexity amid crumbling economic structures. Merchants and scribes turned to these numerals to catalogue diminishing commodities, underscoring a poetic irony. Mathematics initially meant for growth, now documented decline. In the shadows of imperial collapse, Akkadians wielded numbers as a compass, navigating chaos's wilderness with newfound clarity. Amidst drought's dismantling touch, traditional vocations faced obsolescence. Artisans threatened by extinction, sought renewal through adaptation. Pottery, crucial yet sidelined, underwent a renaissance prioritising utility over artistry. Reduced clay resources prompted craftsmen to innovate techniques minimising waste. Firing methods were refined, exploring lower temperatures while maintaining durability, a testament to resourcefulness born from adversity. Beyond necessity, creativity flourished. New hues graced ceramic works, born from crushed stones and rare earth pigments. Weavers transformed scarce fibres into elaborate tapestries, reflecting innovation not for luxury but survival. This rebirth marked resilience amid prosperity's bleakest backdrop, leaving tactile imprints across the troubled empire. In the empire's twilight, maintaining functional infrastructure grew paramount. Roads and public works, neglected under drought's despair, saw resurgence fueled by communal resolve. The empire's trade routes demanded restoration, ensuring essential supplies continued flowing. Resourceful adaptations appeared in durable pathways and sustainable building methods, a rebirth within ruined landscapes. Limited resources compelled rich and poor to unite, laying cobblestones hand in hand, reviving infrastructure with unity, a poignant parallel to opulent eras past. These efforts testified to Akkadian resilience. Faced with insurmountable odds, their answer lay in solidarity, weaving innovation with survival through cooperation. Amid famine and plague, Akkadian medicine underwent transformative trials. Healers embraced experimentation amidst new maladies, pushing herbal concoctions into uncharted amalgamations. Disease and pestilence marched in tandem, demanding fresh approaches, an evolving tapestry woven from perseverance. Humble beginnings in primitive surgery glimpsed new anatomical understandings, with animal dissections offering insights into human physiology. Concepts of quarantine and sanitation emerged as impromptu defences, highlighting practitioner obstinacy in an unforgiving world. Innovation navigated through calamity's tide, with necessity sparking strides towards rudimentary medical science. As conditions deteriorated, Akkadian culture found solace in art, an escape amidst chaos. Poetry and music preserved human spirit against decaying silence. Bards wove tales melding past prosperity with grim realities, creating echoes of indomitable spirit. Rituals provided respite, safeguarded within verses and notes. Cultural expressions paralleled technological advances, with rhythmic variations birthing sophisticated ballads. An irony where adversity catalysed artistic blooms. These stories chronicled survival, carrying traits of an era across history. Innovation manifesting within creativity's sphere amidst Akkad's twilight. While famine consumed the plains, Akkadian language evolved from necessity. Economic and social strains demanded efficient glyphs, transforming complex scripts into clear communication. Writing tablets reflected trade struggles, marking profound evolution amidst distress, simplifying for swift transcription. This linguistic shift encapsulated survival, capturing a legacy of how adversity unearths innovation. As cultural vestiges faded into sands, adapted communication retained memory, affirming creativity's persistence in annihilation. Even when empires faded, leaner strokes immortalised their tales, leaving lessons etched onto time's ephemeral canvas. In the luminescent glow of the desert sun, the skeletal remains of the once glorious Akkadian Empire rise from the sands, whispering tales of a bygone grandeur. The towering ziggurats, once emblematic of their reach for the divine, now stand reduced to fragmented stones, mere shadows of their towering past. Among these ruins, archaeologists delicately unearth the remnants of a civilization that, besieged by climate catastrophe and internal strife, disintegrated under its own ambition. These relics, the fractured pottery and faded reliefs, compose a haunting narrative of bustling marketplaces now silenced, and palace halls, once rife with debate, now ruled by silence. Today's Akkadian realm lives on not through bustling metropolises, but through forlorn archaeological sites that scatter the desert like ghostly echoes. Akkad itself is a mystery, its precise location ambiguously teasing historians and seekers alike. Every artefact, from broken clay tablets to tarnished weaponry, acts as a solemn reminder of ancient lives, relayed through the lens of modern discovery. With each dust-stricken find, the spectre of Akkad resurrects, painting a tableau of a civilization grappling with the inexorable march of time and nature's unyielding embrace. As the empire waned, so did the language that once narrated its triumphs and tragedies. Akkadian cuneiform, the etched angular sigils that chronicled trade, decrees and epic poetry, gradually succumbed to the sands of time. Once the lifeblood of communication, the script's decline symbolised more than just the erosion of words. It marked a cultural demise. Within archives submerged under Babylonian ascendancy, these symbols, rich with meaning, softened into whispers, drowned out by the passage of newer languages. The tragic passing of this script underscores the vulnerability of cultures faced with the relentless tides of historical evolution. Yet as Babylon rose in the wake of Akkad's decline, the cultural threads of its predecessor were woven into the heart of a new empire. Babylon's flourishing streets and hanging gardens eclipsed the ruins beneath them, but the foundational concepts of governance, urban planning, and literary tradition, deeply entrenched in Akkadian roots, found new life. While Babylon's grandeur sparkled, the indelible legacy of Akkad quietly endured, an unseen architect shaping the strands of its successor's culture. Each stone laid in Babylon vibrated with the legacy of those who came before, whispering wisdoms forged in the crucible of the past. The decline of the Akkadian Empire was not sudden but languid, akin to the setting sun dipping beneath the horizon. Murals showcasing past victories succumbed to relentless winds, erasing stories that once lined the city walls. Artisans and scribes who once immortalised the deeds of Sargon and his lineage found their work overlooked and neglected as the cultural fabric splintered under changing regimes and shifting sands. Oral traditions, a crucial intangible heritage, faded into the silence, rendering the vibrant tapestries of Akkadian mythology brittle and fragmented. Despite this cultural fade, archaeologists strive to piece together these fragments, seeking to illuminate what time seeks to obscure. Akkadian artefacts, when unearthed, offer glimpses into a world navigating environmental and societal upheaval. Engravings on clay tokens detail the inner workings of trade, governance, and daily life. The discovery of ceremonial statues, personal seals, and kitchen vessels provides windows into everyday existence beneath the imperial veneer, vibrant in their inferred stories, compelling us to recognise the enduring influence of a legacy interwoven into the tapestry of human history. The burial grounds, harbouring the silent secrets of ancient Akkadian lives, proffer an introspective view into the society that once was. Funerary art, ornate grave goods, and solemn inscriptions draw maps of lives deeply entwined in spiritual beliefs and social hierarchies. Excavating these tombs reveals narratives, preserved in soil and time, rich with insights for all who seek understanding and reconnection with the past. The markers of social stratification, seen in rich grave goods, illustrate that hierarchies dictated not only status in life, but passage into the afterlife, a testament to values steadfastly clung to in adversity. Sargon, the spectral founder of the Akkadian Empire, casts an ageless shadow through history. His reign marked the dawn of centralised governance, an ambitious endeavour that echoed through antiquity. Though time may erode his monuments, the resonance of his governance philosophy, marked by ambition and adaptability, endures. Sargon's legacy embodies a template for leadership, informing future civilizations of the potential inherent in coordinated governance, an imperishable testament to innovation and the lasting impacts of visionary ambition. The abating Akkadian Empire faced a monumental drought, a transformative ordeal that spurred creativity amidst collapse. Adversity catalysed unexpected innovation as Akkadians rerouted essential practices, adapting to the harsh new realities imposed by an unforgiving climate. Initiatives in irrigation, sanitation reforms and material innovation provided not just a means of survival, but avenues for thriving resilience. Even as their civilization crumbled, the lessons of adversity became seeds of regeneration, casting tenacious roots into the bedrock of human perseverance and determination. Beyond their own borders, Akkad's influences permeated neighbouring cultures, interweaving traditions and sparking cultural exchanges. In these interactions, the legacy of Akkad transcended artefacts, embedding itself in the mythologies, linguistic intricacies, and societal rituals of contiguous lands. This spillover forged connections, reflected in Assyrian, Hittite, and even Egyptian scripts and lore, reverberating as a testament to an enduring, albeit transformed, Akkadian ethos that continues to inform and shape. In the end, as the memory of Akkad dissolves into the sands, we find ourselves reflecting on the resonances of a kingdom long faded. Its stories lie suspended in the echoes of time, sonorous tapestries woven anew by the curiosity of those who seek them. These whispers compel us to honour the weight of history and cherish the fleeting imprint of cultures past. To uncover more stories of ancient wonders, mysteries, and adventures, like and subscribe to stay connected with history's most captivating tales.